Welcome back to the motherfucking podcast, guys.
Hi.
I'm Lacey.
I'm Stephanie.
And this is Here We Go.
God.
Today is such an informative motherfucking topic.
I might feel like my brain is dead, which is, I feel like I'm delayed in things. Or maybe it's the CBD. Oh, we don't know.
You're returning to home in your endocannabinoid system. We learned so much.
We have on a very interesting guest today. It's someone I met through the year of the yes that I have discussed so much by saying yes to things and going out and experiencing anything. And I went out to this show with a friend, and the musician there came up and talked to us after and basically told us all about his story and with Lyme disease and Bee Venom Therapy, and then was educating us and talking about CBD. And it was just, I literally said to him, I was like, please just stop talking, because I need you to repeat. I was like, I have a podcast. I need you to come on and talk about this. Just stop. And he came on today, and Jimbo, and it just was amazing. Mm-hmm. It just, the interview is like longer, so we want to have our intro shorter, but it just, yeah, for any of you that have had Lyme or know a friend that has it, or just someone in your life, this is, and if you're also someone who's very confused about what the fuck CBD is, truly, this is going to be a good one for you, because it's just like, and it really in general.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a handful of people that I know of that have had Lyme disease and had it, and they have been battling it for fucking years, and it is just completely detrimental. Like it just takes over your life. And Lyme disease isn't really it's not like a popular I think it's like getting more well known, but like, you know, a lot of the times we talk about how it goes untraceable, and a lot of doctors won't really treat it, so it can almost feel like you're on your own and you have to go the more holistic route.
That is scary.
It is scary. And so I've just known of people that have had to kind of figure out how to heal, because Western medicine just will not do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was super interested in having Jimbo on, because, you know, I've seen this happen to people. I've watched their journeys, and it's hard to watch because, you know, you don't even really know much about it. So it was really nice to learn about Lyme disease, his healing journey, and the Bee Venom Therapy.
Yeah, him telling me that he
stings himself with 10 bees
in the back on the spine.
Yeah,
at an inch from
like
each other.
30 bees a week.
And
it is done like ethically.
Yeah, just listen to this.
Yeah,
it's just wild.
It's very fascinating, and you know, I'm so excited about his company, Jimbo and Jules. Again, we say throughout the episode, this is not sponsored.
No, it's not.
It's just fascinating to us. I feel so lucky to actually know about what the fuck CBD does to my body, like on a scientific level. And he did mention at the very end, but I want to mention it again in the intro, that we're going to leave his website link down below. Our listeners get a 20% off any of their purchases, any items. The discount code is Here We Go 20. If you go to their website and type it in, you will get 20% off anything, which I thought was really, really sweet.
Yeah, this is like nice. This is just a nice thing. There's no money in this for us. Like, we don't get anything out of this.
It's just nice.
It's just nice. And so you guys listen to it. If it clicks, check them out. And yeah, without further ado,
here we go. Welcome back, guys.
Hi.
Today we have Jimbo on.
Yes.
And yes, he goes by Jimbo.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jimbo, tell us about yourself first, because there's a lot of layers to this conversation that we're excited about.
Layers, for sure. So, Jimbo.
So, starting there.
I'm the founder and CEO of Jimbo and Jules. We are a holistically sustainable wellness business, and we create products to help people feel better while having a positive impact on the planet.
Wow.
That's layer one.
I love that.
I'm also a musician. I play guitar. I write songs.
Okay, he's got a creative side.
That's
love
right.
that.
That's layer two.
Well, where are you from?
So I grew up in Connecticut, very small town.
Oh, I never hear that.
I never hear anyone say.
So yeah, one stoplight town.
Okay.
No high school.
Where in
No
Connecticut?
high school?
Yeah, no high school. So it's a town called Sherman.
Sherman.
But the way I describe it is it's a small bubble surrounded by big ones.
Okay, yeah.
So we're like an hour and a half outside of New York City.
Oh.
So, that was a hub. Like, that's where I would go a lot on weekends. Pretty quick train ride.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no high school, very small town. I went to college in D.C., University of Maryland, College Park. I was ready for something bigger. That was 40,000 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then
big change.
Big change. And I'm a pandemic child out here, so I moved here like a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people flocked to Denver during the pandemic.
The mountains had been calling my name for a while, and I think you realize, at least I realized, D.C. had a lot going on when there was a lot going on. And then the pandemic hits, and it's like, this is tense.
Yeah.
This is and since I've been out here, even with the fluctuations of things being open, it's still just been a blast.
Yeah.
So you were in Connecticut all up until the pandemic, and then
Connecticut
Maryland.
Until Maryland.
okay.
Went there at 18, lived there for 7 years, and then it was just like that door bursting open. Got to make the move,
I feel like Colorado is a vessel for people either from the east, the south, west. They all, when they try to escape one of those, they come here, and then they either end up here or they like keep going, like from California to Colorado to like the East Coast.
Some kind of stop.
Yeah,
For
some
sure.
stop. But then if you're from here, you go out. Because it's hard for me to find someone here that's born and raised here.
Yeah.
They usually end up leaving, and they're like, I hate it here. And I'm like, how do you? Like, I cannot imagine.
I mean, we did a comedy show the other night. Jimbo and Jules sponsored a comedy show, and we did a little CBD comedy bit. And we asked the crowd how many natives were there, and there's one out of probably like 70 people. So
Wow.
you
See,
don't get
it's
much.
hard. Like one out of, I know maybe 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
And anytime someone says that they're from here, I'm like, and it's just like seeing something like rare.
What do you
I don't
know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, wait. So which came first for you, like Lyme disease or CBD?
Yeah, great question. CBD.
Okay.
So CBD started early for me. I got a lot of concussions in high school. When I was a sophomore in high school, I got 4 concussions in 1 year from playing football. Football was really my life up until that point, and that ended that. And so my brother had gotten in a life-threatening car accident when I was in 8th grade. He almost lost his leg, went through a lot of different surgeries, and instead of using opiates, prescription pain medicine, he ended up using cannabis to help himself heal. So he was living at home for a few years while I was in high school, and it was just something that was, immediately I had this great reverence for the plant, that it was very therapeutic. I was seeing it totally change my brother's life, and we had friends that in similar accidents that had gone down a completely different path. I think everybody has at least 1 to 2 degrees of separation that's gone down a difficult road.
Yeah.
It's kind of bestowed on them from an injury like that. So anyway, cannabis was in the fold, in the family, if you will.
It was in the family.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great. I mean, I was wondering how your parents how they felt about that.
Yeah, so I mean, they were very, especially because of the other, friends and family that we've had experiences with. It wasn't like they were providing it necessarily, but definitely open to it because it made all the sense.
Yeah.
So your brother did not want to try, he didn't want to do opiates knowingly and willingly. He was like, let me opt for that. And that was like that was even for him. Like that really did help over what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Big
I mean,
time.
it's funny because when I say this will be crazy, but my dad, like I'm from the South, so very conservative family, and my dad and stepmom said to me, we were at this ice cream shop one day, we were talking about weed and like the opiate epidemic. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah. And they literally said to me that they would rather their children do opiates than weed.
Wow.
And it was just like,
That's a lot of people,
yeah. And there was someone else with me when they said that, and I was just like, oh my God. Like I can't.
I remember getting like my step grandfather and my dad like medicinal like THC like balms to put on their joints because they were hurting, And I didn't tell my step-grandfather because I knew he wouldn't use it. He ended up using it and calls me a year later. He's like, Lacey, like, I've been to every doctor, every store. I just cannot get that stuff anywhere. And he was like, baby girl, can I like mail you some money? And I was like, no, you don't have to mail me any money. He's like, that is the only thing that works. And he has arbitrary arthritis. And so I love that testimony because like he wouldn't have used it otherwise. And I think my dad was a little bit more hesitant, but you know, it's an empty jar now.
It's yeah.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes.
That's been a theme this week. Ignorance is bliss. God. Well, how does CBD work exactly? Because we're confused.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go a little bit more through the history that will kind of help, I think, explain it too, rather than just diving right head first into
please.
science.
Okay. There you go.
So in high school, as I mentioned, 4 concussions in 1 year. I was wearing polarized sunglasses in my high school classroom, like totally rocked, you know, hard to get through the days. I was seeing every specialist under the sun, trying to figure out why am I still having symptoms, you know, 6 months, a year later. And most of the answers I'm getting are pretty much, well, you didn't have a stroke. You're passing your cognitive tests, so, you know, in theory, you're okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just it's like a splitting headache 24 hours a day, pretty much. And, you know, I love to smoke weed before I got my concussions. And plenty of people that deal with concussions do use cannabis weed to help. But for me, it was totally the opposite effect. Like, all of a sudden, I was getting anxiety.
With weed?
It would make me focus on like the pain of the head injuries. And I was dealing with this whole identity crisis of like, I grew up a football player since I was 5 years old. That's who I am. Boom, gone. And so I'm kind of, you know, like high school already, you're dealing with this identity thing.
Yeah.
But here I am like, that's gone. Who am I?
Wow.
And so anyway, THC was just kind of out of the picture at that point. And a lot of neurologists are saying, take this pill, take that pill. I'd try it, feel kind of numb, not good, you know. And my brother, who was, you know, using cannabis, said, hey, you should try this thing called CBD because it's similar to cannabis. It's just non-psychoactive. And at the time, that was really before that kind of bubble had started building in terms of CBD. This was, I guess, 2015, you know. Maybe even longer, probably like 2012. And so
it was still kind of taboo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right. So I was getting this bottle from Colorado. So we have the hemp oil. We'll get into that. But I was paying $500 for a 2-ounce bottle. So that would last, you know, about a month.
But $200 or $500?
$500 for a 2-ounce bottle. So it's you know, you think it's expensive.
Where were you getting it?
From Colorado.
Okay.
Company out here. And so is very good. I mean, it literally changed my life. Like, the sunglasses start to come off in the classroom, and the best way I can describe it is it felt like I was healing from the inside out rather than something else coming in. You know, like when I would take these pills, I would feel an effect, but it was like this external thing, either numbing the pain, or it just felt artificial, whereas with CBD it was like, oh, I'm actually healing. And that makes a lot of sense because CBD has neuroregenerative properties. So it's doing a lot specifically for inflammation in the brain and the body. But to understand really that's really how I started using CBD. You know, I was using it 2 to 3 times a day, every day.
Ingesting it?
Ingesting it, yeah, exactly. And so this is still dealing with concussions for many years. And then
Are you still playing football?
No. After that 4th one, I did keep going back. So I tore both my ACLs before the concussions.
You're really getting after it.
The universe very, very kindly was just like, this is not your path. You know, you're going to go over here. But I did not listen until it was like the command center was like, I cannot do this anymore. So go to college, still healing, working on it, and I get diagnosed with Lyme disease my junior year of college. And so how that happens, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Lyme at all.
I'm a little familiar, but I want you to give the full rundown of like how you got it, when you think you got it, like dealing with Western doctors, like dealing with holistic doctors.
For sure. So I started getting this pain in my wrist. I was going to, part of the concussions, I was dealing with neck injury as well from hitting my head so many times. I had what's called a reverse cervical curve. So your C-spine wants to sit, you want it to be sitting like this, like a C facing backwards. Mine was 180 degrees.
Oh.
So completely backwards.
From-
If you can, so if you imagine looking at a skeleton and it's like your neck and then your head, mine was like that.
Oh, wow. Did you deal with scoliosis? Is that what
no,
that
it's
falls
literally
under?
from hitting my head.
I was about to say, is that
many
from football?
times. Yeah. So it took so long. You know, all these neurologists are just looking at the brain. And that was kind of planted the seed of starting to realize how health is so much bigger usually than just this one thing. So, of course, I'm dealing with hitting my head, but I'm also dealing with the neck issues, all that. So anyway, sophomore, junior year of college, I start getting some numbness and tingling in my arms and pain in my wrists. I'm going to physical therapy and thinking, all right, this is crazy. Is this my head? Like, am I toast? Is this it for me? Am I about to get like Alzheimer's? You know, I didn't know the track I was on, but one day I eat a sandwich and I eat chicken noodle soup. Pretty standard lunch, right? And I have terrible allergic reaction. Like, I'm talking bad. Hives, diarrhea, just like bad.
Everything.
It felt like my nervous system was having just a meltdown. And I remember calling my dad and saying exactly that. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And he says, you should go get tested for Lyme disease because, you know, it can have all of those kinds of effects, like creating allergies,
My parents
the
would never
numbness
say
and
that.
tingling.
I know. I'm like, kudos to your parents
Yeah.
for so much already.
100%.
I know.
Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Damn.
No doubt. It's very, very prevalent in Connecticut. It was actually discovered in Connecticut.
Oh, is
okay.
there a lot of ticks out
A
there?
lot of ticks,
Okay.
exactly. So specifically deer ticks in the whole Northeast. So go to the doctor, get tested for Lyme, off the charts. So it's like, damn.
Which doctor did you go to?
Just the health center, actually. And they
Okay.
just test. I was like, please test me for Lyme. Because a lot of doctors won't even test for Lyme
Right.
if they don't have a tick bite, right?
Okay, well, I had heard that, you know, the typical hospitals and Western medication, they don't take Lyme seriously or treat it as a disease. And I think I've heard that it goes untraceable in a lot of their machines or something.
Yeah, exactly. It is severely under-researched, underfunded is really the biggest issue. And so conventional medicine just doesn't really have the protocol. A lot of doctors don't even believe chronic Lyme exists, which is what I was dealing with. So the way Lyme works is you get bit by a tick.
Is that the only way to contract it?
Well, and that's one of those controversial kind of ideas. A lot of people are starting to think that you can get it from other sources. So the Lyme bacteria, it's called a spirochete, and you can imagine it looks like a worm with a corkscrew as a head, and so it burrows into your cells. It's the same bacteria, same type of bacteria as syphilis. So a lot of people also think you can get it as an STD. And again,
That would be so fucked.
this is some hot tea, you know? It's like, I don't know.
Well, that's fucked because, you know, like people get tested for STDs, but I mean, if they're not testing for that, like
Right.
you don't even know.
Right, and it's hard to say. I don't have personal experience knowing people that have gotten it, but it's definitely possible. But we definitely know you can get it from the deer tick. Not all deer ticks have it, but if you know, oftentimes you get a bullseye rash, and that's kind of an indicator of like, okay, go. That's when a doctor will say, definitely going to prescribe you doxycycline, which is the common antibiotic for it. And if you catch it generally within 72 hours, so like 3-4 days, you're going to be good.
Wow.
But if you don't, that's when the problems persist and it can turn into chronic Lyme. And so basically these spirochetes, they're burrowing into your cells, right? And then they detect a threat. They're very smart. They detect a threat and they just burrow deeper and deeper and deeper and basically go into hiding. And so when you start to feel better after being on antibiotics, let's say for 3 weeks, which is a common course, it's like, oh, cool, I'm cured. I'm good. But then a couple months later, you start dealing with, maybe you get a cold or you're a little run down. Boom. They pop back out with a vengeance.
It just like, does it destroy your immune system or it feeds off of a weak immune system? Like what goes on?
Yeah, so it's similar to an autoimmune disease in that, you know, one of the challenges with Lyme is that the symptoms present so differently for different people. And oftentimes it's related to things you already are dealing with. Like, so for me, I had really significant neuro Lyme because of all my head injuries. So like it was my symptoms. I had anxiety, tons of inflammation throughout my body. When I knew that this was the craziest thing I had ever been up against, I woke up one day, normal day. I actually had Battle of the Bands for my band that night. So I was like pretty hyped, pretty good day, right? And all of a sudden, I call it the Cloak of Lime. It was like this thing just descended on me and my whole perception of the world changed. It's so hard to explain, but imagine taking a psychedelic, but it's like the worst side of the spectrum and you didn't take anything. So I'm just like,
oh,
yeah.
So like you felt like as if you were tripping?
Pretty much. So like I was walking through the world in the best way I can describe it is like very dissociated from reality. Even when I would look in the mirror, like my eyes are big, my eyes are bloodshot, and it was like very intense fear because I'm realizing like, where did this come from? It felt like I was losing touch with reality. And so that was one of the really pivotal moments of realizing this is not going to go away if I keep doing this same track. Like I'm 21 years old and I'm going to lose my mind kind of a thing.
yeah.
And so right around this time, I was with a friend at a party, and she was a caretaker for her family. I was telling her what I was going through. One of her jobs happened to be stinging a family. The whole family had Lyme disease with honeybees.
The whole family?
Yeah, so it was,
What? They just
I believe
walk
it was
into
a
nest?
mother and 2 daughters, and they all had contracted Lyme.
Through a tick, or was it genetic? Like she had the kids,
Can
and
he
transferred it.
pass it down?
That's another one of those things where, like, you spend enough time on Lyme forums and Lyme groups. Like, I definitely hear a lot of things. I would love to see science that can determine this because, you know, already you have up to 300,000 people a year being diagnosed. But so many people on these Lyme groups that I was a part of had been diagnosed with MS, diagnosed with all different kinds of diseases. Nothing works. And years later, they start doing Bee Venom Therapy or they get a positive test for Lyme. So it happens a lot where people are getting undiagnosed. Chronic fatigue syndrome, that's another one. Whenever I hear somebody talking and they're like, you know, I'm just like always tired. I don't really know why. I'm always kind of sore and achy. My alarm bells. I'm just like, get tested. But Lacey, to your point, you know, a lot of tests aren't that reliable. And so the way it works is it's like bands of the bacteria that the test is detecting. I believe you need 5. And so sometimes you'll have like 4 bands, but the doctor will say you don't have it, and then the doctor won't treat you. And even if you're positive and you've had it for a year or 2 years, they just give you antibiotics. And kind of like I mentioned, it's not necessarily, it actually is making the problem worse because it's killing your gut with the antibiotics. And not necessarily wiping the bacteria.
Right.
So did you ever notice the bullseye mark or anything?
Oh, so you don't even know if you had a tick bite?
No, I mean, that's the thing. So it was probably at least a year because I was dealing with that numbness and tingling and all those other things that I was thinking were head related. And it wasn't until I got the food allergy, which was at least a year after I was dealing with those other symptoms, that I realized it was Lyme. And so, you know, I was allergic to gluten, dairy, soy, coconuts, apples, like all these crazy foods. That gluten, dairy, all that makes sense. It's very inflammatory. But these other foods where you're kind of like
out of nowhere, or you
out of
had
nowhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And those were foods that I would eat a lot. And so that's likely because Lyme can also contribute to leaky gut. And oftentimes leaky gut you get affected by foods you eat a lot, basically. So, like, if I was eating an apple every day, it's going to cause inflammation from the leaky gut. So, as you can see, Lyme is
I'm like tense. I'm like, should I get tested? I don't know if I have any symptoms, but just like, you never know.
You never know.
But
yeah.
you would know.
Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it doesn't.
But like sometimes, like I've heard, and this may be a myth, like it can show up years later. Like you can contract it, like, you know, you can get bit by a tick and then you don't know it for years.
Definitely. And so that was my case, and a lot of the people on the groups I was a part of, the communities I was a part of, people were undiagnosed for a very long time. If you're feeling with it, fear is a worse disease than anything else.
Yeah.
So like thinking you have Lyme, it's very possible that, you know, you're going to start feeling kind of weird.
Oh, fuck.
I'm good. What all treatments did you try before Bee Venom, before we get into that? Like what all did they have you doing? What was that process?
So I was on Doxy, the classic antibiotic, for a while. I think I tried that for about 2-3 months. And I was on some other herbs as well. And I had that psychosis, I would call it, that really intense day when I was on antibiotics. And so it was like, that was kind of the moment of realizing, damn, this is really intense. So after, I'd say 3-4 months, that's when I met my friend who was doing the Bee Venom Therapy for another family. She had never done it to herself. But it was like this visceral moment where I just said, that's it. I didn't even have to really know anything about it. It just kind of had this reaction of, I at least have to look into this. And
What year was this?
this is my junior year of college.
So, I mean, because, like, I've heard about this bee sting therapy more recently. And so for you to hear about it years ago, I'm like, this was really, like, not a thing back then.
Yeah, it's funny. Now it's becoming popular as a cosmetic thing, too. People are using it to, like, I think Gwyneth Paltrow did, like, a special. That it was,
Of course.
what was the
Super Goop?
show? Yeah.
Or,
it's
like,
Unwell, maybe. It
Yeah.
was, like, by Goop or something.
Yeah.
And they you know, they're looking at, like, fringe treatments, and Bee Venom Therapy was featured there. So I think more people are becoming aware of it. It's been used since at least 2nd century BCE in East Asia. So like Bee Venom Therapy, and actually the use of venom in general as a medicine, is, as you know, from the beginning of time.
Yeah. What all does it do to the body? Like, what all has it been used to treat? Like, what is it? What's going on?
So my understanding of bacteria and chronic disease is that the disease or the bacteria will create a biofilm, it's called. It's basically like a shield protecting itself from any threats, say antibiotics. And in the case of Lyme, that's very strong. And as I mentioned, the mechanism of the bacteria, it's like a spirochete, like a spiral. So it's burrowing into your healthy cells. It detects a threat and is not being wiped out because it's being protected by this film. There's a chemical in bee venom, in honeybee venom specifically, called melatonin. It makes up over 50% of honeybee venom. And what that does is, that's the burning. Have you ever been stung by a bee?
Yeah.
It burns, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the melatonin, is making your body basically think it's on fire. It creates a very intense reaction. And that melatonin basically shocks the Lyme out of its shell and exposes it. And at the same time, it's activating your immune system. And what Lyme's doing is really suppressing your immune system. So your immune system already is at a disadvantage. Bee venom is going to activate it, and then with the melatonin, you know, expose the bacteria.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So do you need to, like, do anything once it's exposed? Like, the Lyme is, like, out of the cell, out of the film because of the bee. Do you need to, like, do anything else on top of the bee venom?
Totally.
Like while it's, like, floating around and, like, visible?
Yeah, so detoxing is huge. Often, and with Lyme, so what bee venom is doing is making a chronic condition acute. It basically brings everything to the surface. And in order to heal, you generally need to go through your worst symptoms. So everything that I was dealing with that would maybe be suppressed by the antibiotics, it was like right to the surface. And it's kind of rite of passage of healing, of, you know, like, okay, you're going to get over this, but it's going to be really hard. And what that is, it's called a Herximer reaction. When basically there's a mass die-off of bacteria, it goes down swinging. It's like, I don't want to die. I was happy here inhabiting this body.
Wow.
And so you're going to feel it. And so if you don't detox that stuff, then you're in big trouble. You get really sick because bee venom is really high in histamine. So, you know, a histamine, basically that's like what you feel if you have an allergic reaction. And if you have too much of that, your body just kind of goes awry. And so the treatment, I was stinging myself with 30 honeybees a week for a year.
Wow.
And the protocol generally is 2 years. After a year, I just had this sense of knowing that I was good to go. And actually, at the same time, I was taking antibiotics, but doing a different type of treatment. It's called a pulse treatment. And so this is also kind of controversial. Like in the bee venom community, they say just do bee venom because any type of antibiotics are kind of fighting, while the bee venom activates, antibiotics are suppressing. I was working with an amazing doctor. I was doing bee venom therapy to myself, like I was stinging myself, but I was working in tandem with a doctor that was incredibly open-minded. And there's new research coming out that you can basically tease the Lyme out of hiding if you stop antibiotics for 2 weeks and then start it for 2 weeks. So it's called the pulse. It's like 2 weeks of wiping them.
Yeah.
Then you stop, and then they're like, oh, cool, there's no threat anymore. Boom, let's go. Comes out. And so I was doing that in tandem with the bee venom, and I don't know if that made my treatment quicker or, there's so much unknown in this case.
But there's a process to it too. Like you do it along your spine, right? And you have to do it like at a diagonal angle or something?
So I don't know so much about the angle, but yeah, it's 1 inch to the right and 1 inch to the left of the spine. So I do 5 stings on either side.
How'd you reach?
Session.
Yeah. Answer that first.
Well, so I would get 60 bees shipped to my house every 2 weeks, and I would keep them in this little bee house. And I want to mention that the apiaries, so that's basically like a bee farm that I would get the bees from, they would take the bees that are right at the end of their life that generally had like about 2 weeks left. So they were on their way out. Those were the bees that I would get.
How long do they live?
I was curious about, there's the whole save the bees and how we need to protect the bees. And so I was wondering how ethical this is or how controversial it may be.
Definitely. And that's such a great question and a huge inspiration with Jimbo and Jules. It's why we have the honeycomb in our logo. Our motto is for your body, for the bees.
Cute.
And that's a lot to reckon with, And so to put it in perspective, I took the lives of about 1,500 bees over the course of that year. In one hive, one colony, you're generally going to have up to 60,000 bees. Okay. So 1,500 is still a very significant number. And people are investigating how to get the venom, and they're researching and able to get the venom without killing the bee. It's not nearly as effective for bee venom therapy, especially Lyme disease, and it's really expensive and still very painful. So that's a challenge. For me, I feel like if we really had a reverence for the honeybee from a medicinal perspective and could really cultivate, conservation based on that, not because clearly people don't care that they give us, 1/3 of our food.
Yeah,
so
people don't care.
We gotta find some other way, but it's tough. They gave me my life back as I was taking their life. It was like this very significant spiritual exchange I was feeling there.
Wow. So there's this like farm would just ship these bees to you. What's their lifespan in general?
That's a great question, and I wish I knew that. I really should know that.
You're like the bee guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think it might be around 85 days.
Oh, okay.
I think it's relatively short.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so wow. What was I gonna, what's do you know like the history of it? Like, has this in particular, how long like this has been going on?
With Lyme?
Yeah.
So Lyme's pretty new. I think Lyme really came around in like the 60s and 70s as a newer disease. And maybe it was around, but in terms of the mainstream knowing like this is Lyme disease, this is something different, is pretty new. And so bee venom therapy, the way I discovered it through my friend, the family that she was stinging basically found an article by a woman named Ellie Lobel, and she's the one who made the protocol on this Facebook group called, is it Healing Lyme with Bee Venom or Bee Venom for Lyme, Bee Venom Therapy for Lyme Disease. There's two. There's Healing Lyme with Bee Venom Therapy for Lyme Disease.
Okay.
The latter is the one that I was a part of and has this protocol. And her story is basically she had been dealing with Lyme for a long time, decades. She moved to California to basically die. She was like, I'm done. I give up. Rented a cottage or something in the woods, basically to live out her final days. She's going for a walk, assisted by a caretaker because she could barely walk. And she was stung by Africanized bees. African honeybees, Africanized bees are very, very territorial and much more, they're much more willing to sting than like what we mostly have that are pollinating our crops are the Italian honeybee, very docile.
Okay.
Don't love to sting unless really provoked.
Like the cute yellow and black ones?
Well, yeah, they all look similar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they look like honeybees are the ones that are furry. A little furry, but not a bumblebee, not the big bumblebus. They look like kind of like a yellow jacket except furry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yellow jackets and honeybees look pretty similar, but are wildly different in how they roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yellow jackets. Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll sting you again and again and again, and
they
will
have,
not die.
yeah.
They don't have much melatonin, if any. But anyway, so Ellie on this walk gets stung by a ton of bees and thinks she's gonna die from that. And a few days later, she starts feeling better for the first time in many years. I mean, she got stung by like 50 bees, like ridiculous.
Oh.
And so all of a sudden, she's like, "What the hell was that? I need to look into this." And that set her down a path. I believe she was a researcher or a scientist before this, and so she started developing this protocol over many years, and probably looking at ancient, specifically in East Asia, like they still use it for acupuncture. They'll do like Bee Venom Therapy on acupuncture points.
Oh, okay.
That's
Which
cool.
is pretty interesting.
So would you just like take these bees and sting yourself, or would someone do?
I had very long tweezers. I'd go into the bathroom, grab one by the legs, one hand holding a handheld mirror, then looking in the mirror and sting. And they're very ready to sting you by the time you get it up.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever like lost control of the bee?
Yeah.
Like, have they died? Like, can they still give you the venom even if they're dead?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. So the stinger removes from their body when they sting, specifically with honeybees. And so they need to be alive for that action to take place. Well, maybe they can sting you, but it wouldn't be the same, I don't think, in terms of like the stinger actually ejecting from the body.
Oh, okay.
When the stinger, when they would sting me, so it'd be 10 stings in a session. And anybody that's listening that maybe wants to give this a try, you don't start with 10 right out of the gate. You start with 1 and work up over many weeks to get to 10. So 10 is 30 stings a week is the max. 10 stings 3 times per week. I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And once you're stung, once I would sting myself, leave them in for 20 minutes, let all the venom pump.
Wow.
And then ice my back.
Did you have to pull stingers out?
Rub some of this on it.
Oh my gosh. Wait, yeah. Would you have to pull it out?
Yeah, after 20 minutes, yeah.
Did you get used to the stings? Like, did the pain, how was the pain?
I would say it was always very painful. Like, it didn't really change, and some stings were a lot worse than others for whatever reason. Some bees would just pack a punch. But it immediately made a difference in my life. I immediately started feeling better. My energy levels increased. This brain fog, that kind of cloak of Lyme I was talking about, this like anxiety. I mean, I'm a pretty social person. I like talking to people, but I would be in class, like in college, being like, I just want to get out of here. This sucks. I do not want to be here. Just feeling weird. Mm-hmm. And so when that started to lift, it was like, give it to me. I will take acute pain over chronic pain any day. There was no question. And I was in it as long as it was going to take because I just knew that it was working,
Mm-hmm. So with Lyme disease and like when it comes to stuff like this versus insurance, is this starting to be looked at by insurance at all or no? How much money did you save doing this?
That's,
wow.
And Bee Venom Therapy was actually being researched before the war. Before World War II. And World War II is really when we had the antibiotic boom in the West specifically. And so all of a sudden, it's like all these other things that are being investigated. It's like, wait, so we can make a pill and make a lot of money on this? That's when, cannabis became legal. A lot of things are happening at that time that are changing, modern medicine. Some for the better, for sure. I mean, we need antibiotics for things. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, I think you're kind of getting at like price and how that works.
Yeah.
So it would cost, I think, $30 for 60 bees. And if you compare that to other alternative treatments for Lyme, I mean, most insurance would only cover you for like your first antibiotic treatment, because that's what a doctor is going to say is warranted, is like 3 weeks.
What?
And yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, is that a lot of doctors don't really think chronic Lyme even exists.
What? I don't get I just don't understand that. Like, if it's, why? Can you not see it? Like, can you not? Like,
so I think that's another part of where the testing becomes such a challenge, where like maybe, and I don't exactly know this, but after you take those 3 weeks, maybe you test negative, and then, but you're still dealing with the symptoms and this the spirochete, the longer it hangs out, the more it's kind of proliferating in your body. So maybe they test after those 3 weeks and the levels are low, but then they're still going to, the residue is still there, and they're still going to be growing in numbers over time. And that's why people get so sick. And, the fact that something like chronic fatigue syndrome, like I know a lot of people that get diagnosed with that, but it's basically like a life sentence. Like, you have this, we don't know why, we don't know how to treat it, so here are maybe some things that help you feel better, but a big lack of root causes to why these things are happening. And I'm definitely not saying it's all Lyme. There are a lot of different things that could be going on, but I know a handful of people that have been diagnosed with MS, been treated for MS unsuccessfully, end up doing Bee Venom Therapy, or end up testing positive for Lyme, and they get their life back,
Wow.
And MS is so debilitating. I mean, it can like, they're very similar in how the symptoms can present over the long term.
So has Bee Venom Therapy ever not worked for somebody? Do you know?
Yeah, I think everybody is different.
Yeah.
And so,
do you know the success rate on it? Really?
I don't know, because there's no data. The only thing I can really speak from is being on Lyme, like Facebook groups and community groups, and seeing
Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Like,
yeah.
that's where the protocol, like all the files, and people post studies and their experience, and there are a lot of success stories, but there are also a lot of people that say, I've been doing this for 3 years and I'm not getting better. And oftentimes one of the reasons, a big reason, can be mold, actually.
Mold?
Yeah, believe it or not. So if you're living in a mold-infested environment, you're sleeping in a moldy room, then your body can't do what it needs to do to heal itself. It's so suppressive to the body, to the immune system. I mean, mold will make you go insane.
Whoa, I just never think about mold.
And you don't have to in Colorado. That's honestly one of the beautiful
it's so
things. And California too, but like East Coast Maryland, where I was living, like that's
the
a
South
swamp.
too.
The South, a lot of people have mold in their homes, and it's just kind of thought of as like, oh yeah, this is just something I coexist with. And a lot of people can just deal with it, but
mold like scares me. Whenever I've seen it, I'm like, ah!
Yeah,
like mold on food. I'm like, ah!
It's like, what is that?
Yeah,
what the fuck is that? We don't talk about mold enough.
That, like, it honestly gives me like Stranger Things, the upside down vibes for some reason.
Oh, 100%. There's a funny story. Well, actually, it's not funny. It's about a town going insane, but.
Wow.
It was like one of these old tales of, just a town going crazy. I don't know the dates, so somebody can fact check this.
It's a tale, or is it a true story?
I'd say a tale.
Okay.
I'd say a tale, but well, definitely people went insane, but there are different theories as to like why. Mm-hmm. And one of them is that there was a major mold infestation in from one of the rivers or around, and that was one of the main causes of people losing their mind. So anyway.
Wow, yeah, interesting.
There's a lot of things I need to check.
So, well, the thing is, just specifically with Lyme, you were asking about like what's a reason why it wouldn't work. I think looking at your other environmental factors and like, are you detoxing? So with the detox protocol, it's like 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day. An infrared sauna at least once a week.
I just started that.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
And like
right?
red light bed.
Yeah. That's like you sweat literally from the inside out. Just get it all out.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't drink alcohol. So I haven't had alcohol in 5 years at this point. Lyme disease was the beginning of that journey. And at this point I could, but it was just, something changed. And it was
Kind of like a boundary now.
never have had a desire to go back. But that's one of the big things. If people try to keep drinking on, doing Bee Venom, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you just like can't. I don't know. I mean, I guess to drink to kind of deal with what's going on would be a desire, but would you be able to like eat meat during this time?
Yep, I was eating meat. No sugars, so like processed sugar, dairy, gluten, all of that stuff I still had an allergy to, and it's just so inflammatory. So even like leftover meat is very high in histamines. Like it's just bacteria basically, and so I would try to avoid that. And just general, good diet was crucial.
And that's considered the detox. Because to me,
good diet.
Okay, like a detox to me, I'm like, I don't eat for a day or something.
Oh,
or like
yeah,
I
yeah.
juice something.
Good diet, I would say, is just foundational across the board.
Okay.
Going to help heal. But the detox, the main things are vitamin C, infrared sauna. Other people do more, but for me, those were like, that was enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you also doing CBD during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the time that I had gotten concussions, I was taking CBD about 3 times a day.
Okay.
And I also got I skipped over this, but I got another concussion in college my sophomore year, so a year before Lyme disease.
From what?
So I had a radio show. It's called Jimbino's Field. I was DJ Jimbino at the time.
Whoa.
Jimbino.
Cute.
And so it was midnight to 2 a.m. And while I was on air, we got word that we had a snow day. So I ran out back. Friends brought sleds, snowboards. I didn't strap into a snowboard. I'm a skier. But I stood on the snowboard, caught an edge, and just toast.
So when you fall now, is it just like concussion automatically at this point?
You really had some bad luck with that.
Big head hits for sure. I mean, I'm still working on it actually. I just started going to a neuro-optometrist, which has been blowing my mind. So over the years, I mean, Bee Venom Therapy really helped peel back the onion of healing in so many different layers. The Lyme, the concussions, it's all very connected with me because the Lyme was so tied to the head injuries in terms of the symptoms that were presenting. I've been like 85%, and my 85% has felt like 150% because for so long I was at 10%, so like these past few years, I stopped Bee Venom Therapy, I guess 2 years ago at this point. And so, these last 2 years I've been like, wow, I feel better than I have since 9th grade, which is crazy. But there's still these little pieces of the puzzle that I'm trying to figure out. And specifically when I spin, like I was at an ecstatic dance. I don't know if y'all have ever done that. It's just like you become a noodle and you're just like really fun, liberating dance experience. No like partners, but you're just grooving,
Love that.
Cool.
Wow.
But I spun a few times and got so dizzy, it felt like I had gotten a concussion. And it wasn't even like crazy spins. It was just like a few. And it really triggered my symptoms. And so I realized like, oh, damn, I'm still dealing with some stuff. And my friend actually happened to send me a podcast about a neuro-optometrist. And she talks about how 50% of people that have one concussion also have vision issues. Like I have 20/15 vision, so I see very well. But I have issues with focusing and teaming, which is, it's one of them's like convergence. So like trying to bring my eyes together and focus on an object.
Oh.
The way they described it is like my eyes and my brain think I'm constantly in fight or flight. And it's probably one of the reasons why I respond so well to CBD. CBD just really balances me out. And so I've been going to this neuro-optometrist and I'm doing like brain therapy. It's a crazy thing, but it's really been a kind of the next step in my healing journey.
What does brain therapy even look like?
It's pretty funny. To the outside eye, you would be like, what is this, an eye test? I mean, so one of the things I do is I stand at a board and there are a bunch of buttons and one, like they light up. And I have to be staring and reading a sentence in the center and then using my peripherals, touching the buttons.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So the peripherals are big. Now there's just, I'll look at an object, turn my head, look at an object, turn my head, but not at the same time kind of thing. So you're like forcing your eyes to focus on an object.
Okay.
And it is crazy because my head, it feels like my brain is just like expanding.
Well, I mean, like, isn't, like, whenever you get a concussion, like, that's whenever you hit your head hard enough that your brain hits your skull,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So is there just something that's, like, kind of more loose or something, like, from all the concussions that you hit your head more frequent? Like, it just happens easier?
I do have a pretty long neck.
Okay.
Definitely, you know, and I think my body type, I played big, you know, I played football big.
I cannot imagine you as a football player. Like, you're an artist to me. Wow.
Right. So really, I think a big part of this in terms of the seed the universe was planting is like, go help people, you know, with the CBD, help people and give them, you know, because it really changed my life. And so that was the passion. I never thought I was going to start a business. I started creating products for myself and then my friends and my family. But also it was like the music. After I tore my first ACL, that's when I first started playing piano. Wow. And so it was kind of like my oasis during that time, and it just steadily grew and grew and grew. So yeah.
So many things have physically happened to you to force you to
do
things.
You really did take one of the hardest paths to get here.
Yeah. I'd say I have some choice in the matter, but some of it's just like, you know, you got to keep rolling. And now, really this year, it feels good. It's like, especially with the neurotherapy and just having health. I mean, I've heard y'all talk about it at times on the podcast, but just like, mind, body, spirit, feeling good, and how when you can let go. And that's one of the biggest things. And when I come back to the business, is like, I realized while I was in so much pain how hard it is to give and how hard it is to serve and like engage in anything beyond like the day-to-day of just, I want to get through, you know, I just wanted to go to bed, didn't want to see people, that kind of thing. And to be on the other side and realize like, okay, I can help people get there. One of the crazy things at this neuro therapy that I've been going to is now we're going to have our products there. And so it's like directly helping people that also have had head injuries. It's just really, it's amazing.
Yeah. How does CBD affect the endocrine system?
The endocrine, that's a great question. So really
good for you for saying it right.
Yeah. So the big,
well,
what I can say, I'm going to kind of deflect, but we'll circle back to the endocrine system. The main system that you need to understand to get a grasp on CBD is the endocannabinoid system. And so the endocannabinoid system.
Endocannabinoid.
Yeah, endocannabinoid. Endocannabinoid.
Oh my
God.
Come
on, Steph, let's go. What do you got?
I'm just like, I have like a fear of mispronouncing words and names, so I'm just
we got the little bop going.
I know. Wait, do it again.
Endocannabinoid.
Okay, I'm done. Okay, anyways.
So this system evolved in us, quote unquote us, over 600 million years ago.
Oh, damn.
And that's around the same time as our central nervous system functions are evolving. So it's deeply tied to our nervous system evolution. And it's in every animal in the animal kingdom except insects. So that's why CBD works for cats, dogs, and people are like, should I give this to my lizard? It's like, you could, but you know, I don't know why you would, but you could. It would do something. But the system was only discovered 30 years ago. Scientists discovered THC or started to understand THC in the 60s and 70s and understand that, okay, this is what gets you high from cannabis. But they didn't understand why it got you high, and it took until 1989 they discovered that, okay, we're researching the mechanism of action, so the why of THC, and they uncover this vast web of receptors in the body, more receptors in your central nervous system, more endocannabinoid receptors in your central nervous system than any other receptor in the body. So that's like, right there, you're kind of like, damn, it took us until 1989 and it's like this significant of a system. We got a lot of catching up to do. So we're really behind, even though the system has been around for so long and doing a lot. And so I feel like you can break down this system into 4 parts, but the main function is helping the body maintain homeostasis or balance. Home. Exactly. Oh. And so it's a regulatory system. So when you asked about the endocrine system, it's helping the endocrine system. It's helping the immune system. It's helping all these systems stay in check. And I actually listened to a talk recently with a doctor, and the way she described it was this. If you're in a dorm and your dorm mates across the hall are really loud and you're trying to go to sleep, you just walk outside and ask them to turn it down. Boom. That's your endocannabinoid system. So when things start to go awry, your endocannabinoid system is saying, everybody, let's chill out. Let's come back to home.
Does like breathing and breath work help with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Breathing, meditation, yoga, good diet, sex, all of these things are helping the body naturally stay. And so here's a really important thing to know. Endo means within the body.
Okay.
Cannabinoid is this molecule that's created, an endocannabinoid is created within the body. It's kind of a detriment to the system to be called the endocannabinoid system because it has nothing to do with cannabis. And so the thing is, when, there's such a stigma around just the word cannabis. So if it was called like the endo balance system, it'd be in every medical textbook. But it still isn't, even though we know it's so powerful.
Is cannabis called cannabis because of the endocannabinoid system?
No, endocannabinoid system is called that because of cannabis, because they discovered it while researching cannabis.
That's why they fucked up.
That's exactly right. No, that was a big decision. And so when people hear endocannabinoid, like they would immediately be like, oh, so it has to do with cannabis. But actually, phytocannabinoids like CBD and THC, that means from a plant. So phytocannabinoid from a plant, endocannabinoid is within the body already. And so to understand kind of how this works, we'll deep dive into some science for a second, and then we can kind of, sum it up. But basically, your body creates endocannabinoids, and we have two main ones, anandamide and 2-AG. Anandamide, I think, is the easiest one to grasp. Ananda comes from the Sanskrit word meaning bliss, so it's known as the bliss molecule.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really nice. And so that does a lot for mood, for appetite, and everybody's experienced anandamide because after you exercise, after you run, and you get the runner's high, that's anandamide. And so research shows elevated levels of anandamide after exercise.
I always thought it was endorphins or
serotonin.
dopamine.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those are definitely involved, but anandamide is a big part of the picture. So I like to present that because people are
so
like,
under-talked
anandamide,
about.
like what, how am I supposed to understand? And now when that happens, you're like, oh, hell yeah, my endocannabinoid system is working.
Yeah, I want this, and it might, start to become more popular because you hear so much about, endorphin rush and your lymphatic drainage system and like all of these things. And I'm like, let's take care of our endocannabinoid system.
Exactly.
What's like the link whenever you do psychedelics with that and everything? Like, are those, like, how does that affect anything, or does it?
That I don't know. I don't know if anybody's even researched, how mushrooms, LSD, anything. I'm sure they're interacting with the endocannabinoid system in some way, but I can't really speak to that from any type of real basis.
Yeah, I just want, because that high and that feeling, I'm like, are they all kind of connected?
Yeah.
It definitely. I mean, because it's so powerful and because you have so many receptors, especially in your central nervous system, of course. I mean, that moment you feel balanced and you feel good and grounded. I mean, that's your endocannabinoid system doing its thing. And
so what's the other side of what is it called?
Anandamide.
Anandamide.
Okay, so yeah, we talked about anandamide. Now 2-AG is another endocannabinoid, but it's important to know that those endocannabinoids on their own don't really do anything until they bind to a receptor, and that's the same way you can think of them like neurotransmitters. So dopamine, serotonin, everyone's pretty familiar with that. Your body creates them when we get a text or when something good happens. But it doesn't do anything. You don't feel anything until those bind to a receptor. And the same thing's true with endocannabinoids. So we have these endocannabinoid receptors throughout the body. And you have CB1 receptors, which are primarily found throughout the central nervous system. They're dealing with motor function, the perception of pain, mood. Then you have CB2 receptors that are mostly in the immune system, deal with cardiovascular health, like seizures and stuff. Like they're showing one of the reasons CBD really helps with seizures and epilepsy is its interaction with CB2 and that immune system. Right.
So I think I've heard recently of like a CBH or a CB, like, are there other
CBN? Great question.
I think I have some of that. Like, if for anxiety, I put it on my wrist or something. I don't know.
Well, I wanted to know if there was other types of CBDs.
Yeah, and that's such a great question. You know, CBD is the poster child. Mm-hmm. It became popular because it's one of the most abundant phytocannabinoids, and now we know, so that means from the plant.
Yeah.
Hemp, cannabis has over 113 known cannabinoids, and all of them are doing something very important. CBN is one. It's being researched as the most sedative one, so it's great for sleep. So we're actually working, I don't know when this is going to come out, but we're working on a sleep tincture that is just incredible. We've been doing trials, and it has CBN, CBD, passion flower, chamomile, and so that's one. CBG is another one that's really great for arthritis, pain specifically. CBC is great for the skin. So you could go down the line, and there is research on these cannabinoids, and that's, you know, when you look at our products, we write full spectrum hemp on the product. We don't write CBD. Mm-hmm. And so when we say 200 milligrams, that's 200 milligrams of cannabinoids. They're very high in CBD, about 80%, but there's so much other good stuff in there. And I think this is the most important thing. And the reason why I say we're not a CBD business, we're a wellness business. Mm-hmm. And there are 3 different kinds. So we feel pretty good with the endocannabinoid system, how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. So there's 3 different kinds of CBD that you're going to find on the market. There's isolate, broad spectrum, and full spectrum. Now, isolate, as you can imagine, it's just CBD. They extract it from the plant. All those other cannabinoids, boom, down the drain. We're just taking CBD, usually 99%. It's very cheap, and it's a white powder. It's pretty synthetic, and so a lot of companies are just pumping products with isolate.
I was gonna ask because, you know, you can go into grocery stores now and see like over-the-counter CBD, and I've kind of heard it's not really even that effective. Yeah. It's like I want you to explain the other kinds, but like where should you be sourcing and buying your CBD from?
I would say Jimbo Jules is a great source.
Yeah. Well, like, would it have to be like medical grade, or like from like a you know, like a medical marijuana shop, or like where?
Not necessarily dispensary or anything like that, but we definitely want to know your source with CBD, and that's why, you know, some people look at me like I'm a snake oil salesman. They're like, you're selling total garbage, and it's a lot of money. You know, I bought this stuff from the gas station one time, and it did nothing. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes, and so the case with isolate, the reason why people might want it is because there's no THC in there. And some people, you know, get drug tested and whatnot and don't want anything to do with THC. The thing is that the research shows it's what's called a bell-shaped curve. So basically there's one dose that's going to work for people, but more or less doesn't make it better or worse. And so that's the problem with a lot of companies taking something that's really cheap, pumping a lot in a product. So let's say another company has, you know, 2,000 milligrams compared to our 200 milligrams of CBD isolate. And somebody sees them on the shelf, and this one's like really expensive, but it says it's really good. And they're like, oh, I mean, it's way stronger. Of course I'm going to get that. It might not actually do anything because of that bell-shaped curve. You're not having that linear effect.
Does it say anywhere on the packaging that it's isolate?
No, and so that's the thing, is that there's really no regulations in CBD. Part of that is good because, I mean, for me personally, because it allowed us to like get into this and start exploring, and we have a passion, and it wasn't like a barrier to entry in that regard. But there's a lot of bad to that because so many companies are taking advantage, and it's just a cash grab in that regard, and taking advantage of people that just don't know. So like paying hundreds of dollars for something that is literally you're either peeing it all out, or, you know, none of it's absorbing. And so we're so big on the education and the why and the reason why we're making the decisions with each of the ingredients and how we process it. But so that's isolate. you can tell kind of how I feel about isolate.
Yeah.
Broad spectrum is the next step, where you have a lot of cannabinoids that are left, but you still extract THC. So you have CBG, you have CBC, CBN, CBD, just no THC. Full spectrum, which all of our products are full spectrum, includes THC within the legal limit. So it's less than 0.3% is the federal. Basically in 2018, the Farm Bill passed legalizing hemp, and they didn't make an exemption for, okay, but you can't take the CBD from hemp. It was just like, hemp is legal as long as it has less than 0.3% THC. And that's when the industry, boom, here we go with CBD. Because essentially it's like, cannabis is still a Schedule I drug by the DEA. But when the federal government passed the Farm Bill, it's basically saying, okay, we're not going to go after anybody that has anything less than 0.3% THC. So there's no regulations there. So anyway, we only use full spectrum, and you can think of it like a lock and key scenario. So like the THC and these other cannabinoids, it's called the entourage effect. Maybe you've heard that kind of thrown around there, where when CBD and these other cannabinoids are in company of each other, it elevates the therapeutic effects.
When I would go into like MedMen because I don't really know shit, but I was like looking for like either CBD patches or something, and they were always trying to explain like the ratios of like 1 to 1, 1 to 3, and like what each ratio would actually like do for you. Totally.
And that's so important. The education is becoming, more people are kind of demanding that, and I think some companies are starting to show up. It's still hard to find, but yeah, so the full spectrum is going to give you the most therapeutic benefit, and research is definitely showing that, backing that up. But the interesting thing is you don't even need much THC, like 0.1% can just have that little, it's like the key, and then boom, here we go.
Yeah.
With all of these other cannabinoids as well.
If companies are doing full spectrum, would they be sharing that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely, you want to market. It's because it's so different. It's such a different product. You're generally going to pay, a company that's being honest and selling isolate is going to sell it for cheaper. A lot of companies don't necessarily do that, but like full spectrum is expensive. It's a more expensive process.
Oh, okay.
And so you're paying a bit of a premium. It's a premium product. It's a better product in that regard. So yeah, those are the different forms, and then of course you get to like, how do you take it? What's the best way to take?
I was gonna
CBD?
ask, like, what is this? Externally or internally?
Yeah. Yeah. And so the idea is, for general wellness, for like systemic wellness, an ingestible is definitely going to be the best, because it's helping support your endocannabinoid system, serotonin receptors. CBD actually mimics serotonin in the body. So so that's one of the things they're researching why it's so good for anxiety, for depression. I'd say the main parts of the body that CBD has over 65 targets in the body, but the main systems that it's working with are endocannabinoid system, serotonin system, and then your pain receptors as well. It helps desensitize your pain receptors.
But like, people think that when they take it immediately it should start working. It takes time, right?
It does, yeah. And that's another just so important that I always try to communicate, is that a lot of people take it thinking it's like an Advil, and pretty much instantly, boom, I want to feel it, and if I don't, then it doesn't work. But CBD builds up in the body over time. You can think about this system. So let's say like you roll your ankle on a run, and if you let it heal up right away, you put some ice on it, you're good to go in a couple days. But if you keep going for runs of that ankle, it's going to become pretty serious. And that's how we are with stress. It's like our endocannabinoid system, our body just can't keep up with the pace that we go generally. I think a lot of people turn to CBD for sleep, anxiety, pain. Those are like the top 3. And so you're basically supporting balance, helping your endocannabinoid. It can enhance the production of your body's own endocannabinoids. So it's like keeping your system healthy, essentially, when you're supplementing with CBD or a full spectrum extract.
Wow.
I want to start.
We can start right
yeah,
now.
like,
actually.
should I
Let's do
open
it.
this?
Yeah, guys, we're
absolutely.
gonna open
we got
up-
some gifts.
Jimbo gave us some gifts from his company, Jimbo and Jules, and we want to open it up and like
got the
talk
full
about and
excited.
explain
Yeah.
these things to us. Because I swear,
sure.
if I pulled this off a shelf, I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah.
gotten, I get sent like a handful of things, and I get a lot of, I guess I've gotten a lot of CBD products, but
Oh, I have yours.
you know, like I just never know, like, I just never know, you know, they send me a bottle, I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this? Like, I don't know if it's like full spectrum or not.
Yeah, now you know. Full spectrum is the good stuff for sure. And to talk about, you know, how much to use it with an ingestible, daily use for a period of time is really going to be your best.
I wanna
bet.
do that.
Consistency.
Do I put it in water under my
So-
tongue?
They're a great question.
How much?
Actually, you want to put it right under your tongue.
Okay.
Swish for 30 seconds.
Oh shit.
And then swallow. And so there was a study that came out, I think in 2015, that showed that when swallowed, so like in the form of a gummy or an edible, up to 40% of the cannabinoids can be killed before being absorbed. So by your stomach acid.
Oh.
So it's really
why you
interesting.
wanna
Like
swish.
gummies are so popular and whatnot, and we just stick for ingestibles just to oil because we know that it's going to give you the best experience.
So does full spectrum work faster since it's a better product than just an isolate, or does that even work? So wait, it's isolate, full spectrum, and then what was the other one?
Isolate, broad spectrum, and full spectrum.
Oh,
And if
okay.
you're thinking full basically means all cannabinoids. So it's like as close to nature as possible.
Okay.
Is going to be your full spectrum. Isolate is as far from nature. It's kind of like a pharmaceutical that is, you know,
Generic.
you're extracting just
Argus.
one thing,
Oh, okay.
and you're left with just CBD. So yeah,
Wow.
why don't y'all give that a try? The,
We're doing it right now?
handful. Oh yeah, it'll be perfect.
I like your transparency.
Thank you.
You know, the ingredients are listed: full spectrum hemp, CBD,
QR code to the test.
Yeah, the QR code. You
That's another
mentioned like the
thing.
FDA, like vegan, third-party lab tested, sustainably sourced, non-GMO, full spectrum. Yeah, and then you kind of just have like your mission on here to kind of conserve and save the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, the third party tests, that's big. If a company doesn't have a COA, which is a certificate of analysis, a test, don't even
From the
give it.
FDA.
What does this taste like?
Well,
I'm scared.
you get it from third party labs,
Oh,
so
okay.
different labs that are testing. What does it taste
Did
like?
I do a full dropper?
I would try full dropper. Yeah, that's one serving. And I personally love the taste. We don't flavor. We stay away from any flavorings. Keep it natural.
Oh, cool. But you even
And-
on the little dropper, guys, it has like a little measuring.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
It goes up to 1.0
What are we
milliliter.
How do I do this?
Just like mouthwash, you know, just swish it around. Yeah, it doesn't have to stay under the tongue. The key is you're letting it absorb through the capillaries of the mouth rather than going into the stomach. Yeah, see, yeah, there we go. There we go. And I love the taste. I have a pretty earthy palate, I'd say, in general. I drink my coffee black.
That tastes like weed oil.
Yeah, exactly.
Like weed butter oil.
like
yeah.
You can, you get mint.
Mint?
Look, I might be a dumbass.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait, did we do a mint?
Well, yeah, I'm like, mint. It just tasted like straight up oil. Wow.
I kind of got a minty flavor.
Nice.
Like I chewed a
It's
leaf.
fresh, right?
Like,
Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't
fresh.
figure out how to swish. I forgot. And I saw you and I was like, oh shit, that's way easier.
Like, how do I swish?
That
and keep
isn't
it
bad
on?
That
at
is
all.
good.
Yeah, that was
Nice.
great.
Yeah, so give that a try daily if you're feeling it. You
How
know,
often? Like when would I be able to like
Do you do it in the morning and at night?
feel?
yeah, I do it 2 times a day.
Okay.
But you can, for some people, it will make them a little sleepy. Some people, it will wake them up a little bit. Some people, like me, I can take it any time of day and it's all good.
Okay.
So everybody really is different. And you were maybe asking like how long until you were like, oh, this is doing something.
Yeah.
You know,
Just depends.
I'd say give it at least a week of using daily.
Okay.
And it's very possible that before that you're like, damn, and this is what I'll say. I love this. It's subtle yet significant. It's not like all of a sudden you're gonna wake up and be like, the whole world has changed and I just
like
feel
Snow
like
White.
everything's great. It's more, you might be like, damn, I didn't get as irritable as like I usually do in
Yeah.
that
I need
situation.
this.
And, I usually get anxious before this kind of an experience, and actually, like, I feel really good. And it's like when you think of homeostasis, I like to think of CBD as it's returning to your home. It helps your own body be where it's supposed to be. And echoing back to me when I started taking it, feeling like I was healing from the inside out, it was this very clear, I'm working together with the plant. I'm working, it's not like I just take this pill and boom, I'm off the hook. You're working with, this is a living, breathing organism that you're taking. And so that's kind of my philosophy in general with like plants and how we eat, but CBD especially when you're going into this, like, create an intention. How do you want to feel? And it responds,
I've always, here recently, I'm just like, anything worth anything takes time.
Yeah.
So it would be weird if it was a quick fix for me, you
Yeah.
know? And okay, wait, so we have this Energize one.
So the roll-ons.
Give me that.
Oh, wait,
So-
I have the sleepy bye.
So
Oh,
A
damn
big-
it.
Would you rather sleep?
I was trying to spread the
know.
field, but you're I know where you live.
Okay. I'm like, damn it, I kind of want to say, but I have like my little gummies.
I just know I like grind my teeth at night, and I'm like, maybe this will help. With
Oh, then
that.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, so the roll-ons are great to use behind the ears, on the
Oh.
temples, and a little bit under the nose if you're down with it.
I'm down. I'm not gonna do this.
What do
now.
I do?
And
Which
so
one?
you could do all three.
Oh.
Yeah, so the roll-ons are, and with all of our topical products, so we talked about the ingestible, great for systemic wellness.
Yeah.
Now, a topical is going to be great for targeted relief, especially pain, inflammation. But for us, we really wanted to create topicals that weren't just for a targeted experience.
Yeah.
And so we have essential oil blends, generally between 7 and 8 essential oils in each of the products, with a very intentional desired experience there. So with Bee Buzz and what Steph's holding, that's the energizing one. It has peppermint, eucalyptus, rosemary,
Yay.
lemongrass.
Also, guys, this is not sponsored. This isn't an ad. No one
That
paid
smells
anything.
really nice.
We
I
just
came
really
bearing
want.
gifts.
No, yeah, we just want.
This is just
I just think we
fascinating.
should talk about CBD products because I think we see them all the time, and we're like, what
We
is
don't know
that?
shit.
Yeah, and I have had this lip balm prior to even knowing Jimbo's story. And it was always like my favorite, and then I lost it, and now today is a new day. And I
Okay,
have
so
it
there we go.
again.
Yeah,
Did
so
you wanna
like-
switch?
Oh, I don't mind. But like the lip balm, it's in, I guess like paper-ish
Yeah.
packaging, and I've never seen packaging like this before. But it's completely sustainable, right?
Yeah, so completely zero waste. And the lip balm's the only product we have at the moment that doesn't have CBD in it. And still great natural ingredients, marula oil, coconut oil, beeswax, castor oil. But the packaging is 100% post-consumer waste paper, and it's home compostable. So if you have a compost, it'll be gone in 2 to 3 weeks.
Fuck yeah, I
And-
love that.
And we're moving in that direction. We really, our whole model is, so now you know about the bees. So our motto is for your body, for the bees. And so this started really as a passion project. I'd been taking CBD for a while. It was very expensive. My brother had lived in Colorado, and I had another friend that was in the cannabis space in Colorado. All of a sudden, I realized, let's make it. And so Jules and I had connected at this time, and she was also dealing with a lot of chronic health issues. She had a bad back from an injury in high school. Was also dealing with some chronic illness, chronic fatigue type stuff, and we realized, like, let's just make this for ourselves. Let's start doing it. And so that sent us down a path of just exploration. And on day one, we created Bee Buzzin', Sleep Sweet, and then Be Easy, which
Day
is in the
one.
salves.
Damn.
Wow.
It was like, yeah, exactly. the OGs for sure. And so
Looks cool.
Bee Buzzin', the idea is energy. You're uplifting. I love to use that in the morning before a workout. Be Easy is great for stress, great for anxiety.
The sleep one is Be Easy.
Oh, maybe I do
Be
need
Easy
that.
is in the salve.
Oh, okay.
And we also do a roll-on with Be Easy.
Ooh, fuck yeah! I want to put. I hold stress in my shoulders.
Big time. So yeah, the salves are going to give you, great targeted relief wherever you put it. And then the addition with all of our topicals is that aromatherapeutic benefit as well. And
it looks like little snowflakes in here.
Yeah, so that's some crystallization. That's when it changes temperature sometimes. So we don't use any stabilizers. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when the temperature changes, you're going to get a little bit of crystallization. You know, ideally it looks completely the same, pretty. But it does look, we'll call it snowflakes. The massage oil has a blend in there. That's our extra strength topical, so best for chronic pain. And that has a blend that's great for circulation. So, and we like to think about it in two ways. So you have your circulation in the physical body, like you get injured, helps enhance blood flow. But it's also circulation of the emotional body. So if you're dealing with trauma or grief, it has an essential oil in there called rock rose.
Can I put it on my chest?
Yeah, put it on your chest. Oh, wow. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I've been sad recently.
Oh my God.
That's the stuff. Yeah, nice pick me up. Especially before you go to bed. Like, if you take a shower at night, like your skin's gonna be so good. You're just gonna wake up feeling like just like nice and supple skin.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to order from you. This is great.
Y'all got
Can
it.
you ship to California?
Yeah. We ship everywhere. And so the topicals are going to work wherever you put them. So if you have a sore knee, sore shoulders for sure. It's nice to get that aromatherapeutic effect, to put a little bit, on the back of the neck, like I mentioned.
Is that instant, or is that something that builds up too over time?
So similar, but I'd say more people will feel an immediate effect from a topical, especially if they have like a sore knee or sore muscles or something, because it's really enhancing blood flow like right at that area.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so
these for the bees?
Yeah, exactly. So with every order, we send free native wildflower seeds.
Yeah,
and
cute.
So yeah, that's for Lacey because she's Cali. So I mean, we could
Oh, that's
the
cool.
Southwest.
They're different regions.
Yeah, so we do all 6 regions. So we started learning at first. We realized we're giving these to family and friends, and they're like, "Hey, y'all are onto something. This is really helping us." And we're like, okay, we just graduated college. Should we do this? And so we dive in. I'm working 2 jobs, like at a music venue as a music teacher, but we really believed in it. And but we had this moment of reckoning where it's like, okay, we're about to start a business that sells products. That's a lot of waste. There's nothing we can do to avoid waste in a business that sells products. How can we do the best? How can we actually have a positive impact? And so we created the Conscious Garden Project. Initially, we wanted to plant a pollinator flower for every product sold. And then we realized that is not the only issue. Pollinators are a big part. But when we think about biodiversity loss on the planet, which is really threatening so many of our ecosystems, if you're looking at the U.S. especially, such a big part is like our landscapes being sterile. So when you go driving by a suburban neighborhood, it's just lawn. And lawn does not contribute to the ecosystem in any way. It's totally sterile.
Wow.
And you don't really think about it, but we have more than 45 million acres of lawn, privately owned, in this country. That's more than our 29 largest national parks combined.
Wow.
And so for a long time, the kind of idea was like, oh, we'll just push, we'll just let like the national parks and the reservations save nature. Now we have to learn how to coexist. Like, how can we take Denver and turn it into an ecosystem for not just humans? And so that's where the Conscious Garden Project comes in, is planting native plants, so indigenous flora that have been here since the beginning of time, because this is a crazy thing, insects co-evolved with plants. And so when we take these exotic plants that are so prized in landscapes and put them in our own, like let's say a ginkgo tree that comes from Asia. A lot of people love it. I don't know if it's big out here, but on the East Coast, it will support maybe one caterpillar. You might think a caterpillar, okay, but birds eat caterpillars, and they're the pillar of the food web. And so we lose the insects, and we're going to lose a lot of biodiversity on the planet. Well, an oak tree, which is native to North America, can support over 500. So that little seed of knowledge is like powerful. The Conscious Garden Project is about just being conscious about what we're putting in our yard. So like those seeds that you have are great for pollinators. They're great for, growing plants that are meant to be here and helping with biodiversity.
When should I plant them? Because it's February.
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
February now. Like,
definitely hold on to them. I'd say early spring,
okay.
March.
I'm excited. I have places to plant them.
Oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
yeah,
and they're
you do.
simple. The nice thing about native plants is because they're meant to be there, they're really not too high maintenance once you get them going.
Cool.
You put them under the soil and water them at first, and once they've sprouted and started going, they just keep coming back.
Wow.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's the For Your Body for the bees. We really see it as a platform for both. It's like helping people, helping the planet.
This has been so informative. I'm like so jazzed on CBD, and I'm also like,
I know. I'm like, what the hell?
I've had like a handful of people I know, kind of like by like a second degree or whatever, that have struggled with Lyme, and it has just taken over their life. And I haven't known much about it. I know of it, and just seeing how detrimental it has been. So it was really nice to kind of hear like what it really is, like the history of it, therapy, healing. Like this was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love to, tell the story, and also anybody that y'all have in your life, I'm so open to, connecting with in regards to helping them through Lyme.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of people on here that had no idea, and that may be
Like
questioning
questioning
out
some
and
things,
questioning and
Yeah.
just starting their own research, because whenever I met you at your show, I was like, and you just started talking, I was like, stop talking, because I need you to just come on our podcast, like, please.
I can
like,
talk for sure.
Well, no. It was just like, I was like, if I didn't even know anything about this, and I know a lot of people haven't, so it's just, it was very informative, and thank you for taking the time to come on and educate us and give us these things.
You're so well spoken.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so awesome. I love. Oh, here we go. I'm just gonna say. Oh, here we go.
Wait. Okay. So before we wrap, we have 3 more questions
that have nothing to do with the interview.
That's right. Potatoes was yeah.
Don't ruin it.
Oh, that's one. Oh, I thought you came up with 3 new ones.
No.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
I thought about it a little bit. I thought about my potatoes.
Okay. So, what's your favorite way to cook or eat a potato?
Okay, so sweet potatoes.
Okay.
I like to cut them like fries.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Olive oil.
Okay.
Rosemary, dried rosemary.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Bake them, roast them, of course, and then when they come out, a little bit of lemon, like just as they're coming out, turn the oven off, and then put them back in the oven to crisp with the lemon.
You have this down. I'm gonna re-listen to this. And do
I
it
kind of
myself.
cheated just because I heard Maddie talk about her potatoes, and I was like, what would I have said?
No, that's
time
great.
to
Be
think.
prepared. Everybody's like fries.
I forget the other 2 questions, so I guess.
Okay, good.
Okay. If you could be a gold medalist at any Olympic sport, summer or winter, which one would it be?
Oh, wow. Either or. I mean, ski racing in the Olympics. I grew up ski racing for winter, and surfing for summer for sure. So hard to choose, but I'd probably choose surfing.
Surfing? I didn't even know that was in the Olympics.
Surfing is scary.
Wow.
Surfing.
That makes so much sense. I just am always watching the winter ones.
Yeah, right? I feel that.
Yeah, okay.
Last one is, would you rather smoke weed on the beach or trip psychedelics in the desert?
Hard to. I just say smoke weed on the beach.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to do both, and will do both at some point. But I just the image, when I chose the path of the guitar, it was because I could play on the beach. Like, I was playing piano and I was playing guitar, and I was kind of like at this crossroads, and I was like, I can take the guitar anywhere.
Yeah.
So smoking weed on the beach with my guitar is like a pretty dreamy day.
Yeah. Oh, cute. Love that. Okay. Well, dang. I guess you want to try to wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end. It means a lot. I hope you feel like as ecstatic and educated as we do about this topic. Please check out Jimbo's Instagram and Jimbo and Jules. We will leave all of their information down below, his website, so you can check it out as well. But if you would like to keep up with us, we are at Oh Here We Go on social media, at Stephanie Parsley, at The Lazy Claire. But again, it's all down below. Yeah, and on that note, Jimbo, do you want to help us out on this?
Where can we? Oh,
No.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I also do want to mention, if it's not too late, I should have mentioned this before, but any listeners are going to get 20% off their first order.
Oh, cute.
I know it's not sponsored by y'all, but I would love to give to the community.
Wow.
Okay.
And so the code is OHereWeGo20. You can find that at jimboandjules.com. Any product, your full order, 20% off.
That was so
Wow.
sweet. Again,
Yeah.
find it down below.
Yeah,
it
and
down
we'll
below.
post about it too. But if you made it to the end and that's the prize.
Yeah.
And check me out, Dr. Jekyll on Instagram, or you can type in Jimbo Lord.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you again. And you ready to do it again?
Oh, here we go.
Bye.